So night 2 on the 99 Green Sahara, Sport. You see the Pro Comp lift kit, 2-inch, 2.5-inch or something. That was in it already. So that's good actually. That's all set. New brakes tonight, rotors and pads. Rear brakes, shoes, drums, and hardware. And we actually cut the old tailpipe off. It's got some kind of chambered Flowmaster style muffler that sounds pretty good actually. So we just cut it off flush. We'll get rid of the rest of this rotted tailpipe and weld on a new stock tailpipe. Here are the drums for the rear brakes. Little surprise today. The frame checked out pretty well initially, but been driving this around for a few days. It's been running really well, top down, beautiful weather, and the frame has a nice little surprise for us. Pretty typical. I didn't think the frame was that bad, but just the driver's side, the passenger side's perfect. The upper trailing arm mount broke away from the frame, so we'll pull that down, disconnect the brake line, move the fuel lines, the vapor line, and the rear harness there, and plate the frame. The frame's not too bad, just one spot behind the bracket. Plate the frame, weld it up, and then we'll weld the bracket back on. On the outside, same issue. Not bad. I'm not going to pick that scab anymore. I'll knock the loose rust off and treat it inside and out once it's plated on the inside, and the rest of the frame is fine. This is the worst side by far, and it's not even that bad. So tonight we'll get the brakes done, we'll get the frame fixed, exhaust done. Pulled the rear shocks out. They're not that old. They were making a racket. The bushings are actually missing from the top mount here. And the bottom bushings were all worn out. I'm not sure why. Shocks aren't that old, but we look at what's left of the bushings. They were probably just installed. These aren't the easiest things to install, and they're probably either ground down or shredded by the time the person who installed the lift finally got them in the shock. But they were so undersized, there's too much movement there, they just wore out in no time. So I've got new bushings for the shocks. The shocks are fine. We'll get them back in. As far as tires and wheels are concerned, we're going to keep these almost worn out Trexis mud tires. They just look pretty badass on the Jeep. They'd pass a sticker barely, but they're good enough. Leave them on there. It's got these Krager Soft 8 wheels on here. Okay condition. They probably clean up all right. A little rust creeping out from the seam like they always do. And they're not too expensive either, but we've got to stop the bleeding somewhere. So what we're doing is just grinding out the rust and scuffing up the factory paint or powder coat, whatever's on there. Get a good surface on there, clean it up well till it looks something like this. Focus. Got all the rust ground out of there for the most part. All the gloss taken off, cleaned up, and I hit that with a rust inhibitor primer. And then once that's dry, we use a truck bed coating. And when they're done, they have a nice little matte textured look to them. Texture's nice because it hides all the imperfections on the wheel. And I think the matte black is going to look much better on this Jeep since it's got that kind of beater theme to it. Just cake it on a couple coats in there. That'll, between the rust neutralizing primer and the bed liner, that should slow down the rust. Not going to stop it from coming back, but slow it down and give them a nice even coat. So that's about it. These wheels are fairly inexpensive to buy new, but for 70 bucks a piece times 4, and then they're going to come shiny, and I'm not real thrilled about the shiny look, so I like the matte look much better. So that's where we're going to go with the wheels. Got the tailpipe. We just fitted to the muffler that was on there. Muffler's fine. Didn't get to the mirrors. Still have the interior kind of torn apart. Glove box is all scarred up. I have to see if I have another one. The vinyl's all damaged. Got a stock radio in there out of another Jeep I had with a CD. Centerpiece has to go back in, but I did get the blower switch, but I'm not going to get to that tonight. So I'll get the blower switch in, put the dash back together, and interior is pretty much good after that. That seat's a bit tired, but I think I have an extra seat around, so I'll see if I have a matched color and put a different seat in there. So that's it. Next, some good progress tonight, the end of night 2 on the green 99 Sport. Got the brakes all done. Was able to remove that that brush bar or push bar that was all bent up and rusted, and straightened out the front bumper. This heat and a hammer got it close enough. Got some new bumper ends on, and what I'll do is sand that bumper down, prime it, and I'll spray it with the bed liner, because after I had to heat it and straighten it, finish isn't the best, well, the surface isn't the best for regular paint, so I'll give it the bed liner look, tape it off, and spray it. I put the ends on first so I could spray the bolts. I didn't have stainless steel bolts or anything. Stock bolts were all rusted, so got regular grade 5 metric in there, and I'll just coat them with the bed liner. So we got a new steering box in there today as well. Didn't point that out earlier, but that was leaking from both ends. Didn't get to the mirrors, but we did get to the rear brakes. Got the rear shocks back in with new bushings. Fixed the frame on the back side, driver's side, where the upper bracket had torn away. I shut the power off, so I can't lift it up right now, but got plated the back side of the frame and welded the bracket back on, so that's done. And some rust had fallen loose on the outside here, so I'll cut that out and plate it, and then plasma cut another access hole in there just so it looks factory. There's the old brush bar that was on the front. It's all rotted out. Really cheaply made. I think a lot of these accessories were sourced out through J.C. Whitney, and you can tell, especially these tail lights. I'll take those off when I strip and paint the hinges and patch up that hole right there.